when you start procrastinating one small thing, sometimes the consequence don't seem so major, right? But the more you do it, the more it starts stacking up. And the more that negative feeling starts piling up, so the more it actually paralyzes you from taking action at all.
ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hayyakumullah. Welcome to the Barakah Effect podcast.
Allah.
The topic of our discussion this week is laterlah, how we can overcome procrastination. Hopefully, once and for all. Inshallah. Okay. Inshallah. Okay, so before we begin, I think we're just going to start with some boundaries on what we mean by procrastination, right? So sometimes we hear this word being thrown around a lot, and actually just before we started this recording, we discussed that there is no Malay translation for the word procrastination, right? As you said.
Yep.
So
Yeah, if the listeners or the audience they know the word for Malay, please share it in the comment box. So
it
would be so helpful.
The only thing we came up with is menunda-nunda, which is not doesn't really sound menanggo-nanggo, right?
Menanggo-nanggo,
Doesn't really
right.
sound like it hits the target for some reason.
So that's why we make an excuse for ourselves. We said, patutlah, we always procrastinate. That's why, because we don't have a word to describe it, right? I mean, come on. Okay, so let's just talk about definitions. Quick one. So this is something I learned from the book, The Science of Overcoming Procrastination by Patrick King. So procrastination, the definition is the act or habit of putting off something to a future time. It involves delaying what needs to be done, usually because the task is unpleasant or boring, or simply because delaying is an option. Okay, the context is it's typically considered an exclusively negative phenomenon. Okay, so we're talking about delaying things which are causing some degree of negative consequence, usually involve some degree of psychological discomfort or irrationality, right? So that's
right.
Hopefully that sets the boundaries in what we're talking about, how we can overcome this, right? This keep on delaying kind of habit, right?
Yeah, mashallah.
Okay, so let's start with a few funny quotes just to set the scene. If you guys have some good ones about procrastination, let's hear it. Huh? So, okay, I got one here. I'm a person who works well under pressure.
Okay.
I work so well under pressure that I will procrastinate to create this pressure to perform at my best. All right. Okay. Not bad, huh?
I thought our excuse was better just now, but this is
so this beats it, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have this, I got another quote to complement this. I put the pro in procrastination.
Cool.
All right. Okay. Okay, got another one. Tomorrow. What's the definition of tomorrow? It's a mystical land where 99% of all human productivity, motivation, and achievement is stored.
Okay.
Right. But tomorrow, right? Bukra. In Arabic, you say, bukra, right? Like, tomorrow, right?
Mashallah.
Yeah, I saw this meme, right? This guy says, he's putting on boxing gloves, say, I'm a fight procrastination. Then the next picture goes, dang, I'll start tomorrow.
Brilliant.
All right, anyone's from you?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
Procrastination is like a credit card. It's a lot of fun until you get the bill.
Okay. That's serious one. Okay. Good, mashallah. All right, anything else? That's it, huh? Okay. Okay, I got one last one. I'm not a procrastinator. I'm just extremely productive at unimportant things. Allah musta'an. Okay. All right. So inshallah, in this episode, we will cover, number one, we're going to share some personal examples. So we're kind of going to put ourselves on the spot by sharing our own procrastination stories, what we're struggling with, and what we desperately need to stop procrastinating in. And also, if we have our own sort of success stories on how we beat procrastinating in some of those areas. Right, so that's number one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share like what's so important, why do we need to discuss this subject, especially from the perspective of us as Muslims. And number three is what causes procrastination, right? So we want to understand what are sort of the building blocks and the mechanisms on why this is happening. Why do we keep putting off what we are supposed to do, right? Is it because we're lazy or is it because something else is at play here? And finally, we're going to talk about some strategies, the how. How can we overcome and beat procrastination? Okay, so inshallah, that'll be the outline, yeah? So yeah, just a heads up, some of the contents that we'll be sharing for this discussion will kind of be overlapping and complementing some of our episodes that we've done in the past. So I think the most obvious one will be one of the recent episodes called 40, what's it called again? 40 tips on productivity.
Productivity, yeah. 40 tips on productivity, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 40 easy tips on productivity tips to improve your life.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh man, I forgot a title of our own. Right, 40 easy productivity tips to enhance your life. Right, okay, so that's one. And also, yeah, because naturally, when you are being productive, it's actually the opposite of procrastination. And procrastination is actually not being productive, right? So naturally, some of the strategies of being productive is how to overcome procrastination. So that's number one. And number two, I'm also probably going to see some similarities with one of our earliest episodes called the slump, right? What to do when motivations are low, and how to get back on track, right? So there we talked about how we can get back to our old productive self. Sometimes we feel like we feel overwhelmed, we feel like it's daunting, so we tend to end up putting it off. So that's kind of so some of the strategies. So probably going to overlap with this one, right? I think, inshallah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So inshallah, in the meantime, we'd like to ask all of our listeners out there, you right now watching or listening, what are you procrastinating about right now? What sort of things do you feel you need to be doing, but just kind of keep putting off and rescheduling, right? How do you overcome that? And maybe do you have any life hacks or any super tips that you can share with us, right? Inshallah. And on that note, we want to share a disclaimer here. We are not masters in defeating procrastination. We ourselves are in need to overcome our bad procrastination habits. Yeah. But at the same time, we also had some degree of success in overcoming some of our procrastination. So, when you listen to this discussion, consider ourselves, the team here at the Barakah Effect, we are sort of students in the field who are sharing to other fellow students, inshallah. So kind of like practitioners sharing experiences for the benefit of other practitioners. And hopefully other practitioners also share it back with us, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. So on that note, so let's start with the first part. So let's just share ourselves, like what are some personal examples of procrastination that you guys, Brother Aziz and Brother Reza and myself, what we are struggling with. Yeah. So I'll start with myself first. I'll throw myself under the bus first. Okay. So I think it's writing for me. It's writing in general, but specifically in writing books. I've always been wanting to write books for the longest time. I've actually even gone online and declaring that I'm going to publish a book titled so and so, and 2 years later, still no book yet. So almost done, right? And writing in general, also the same thing. I love writing. I love sharing my thoughts, and anything I learn, I like to share. But there was one period where, like 5 years, didn't do it. Like it just kept on my hard drive and just stuck there.
Just shelved, huh?
Shelved. Procrastinate. No results. Right. So that's me. Anyone else?
Inshallah. One example is, for example, preparing for the episodes of the Barakah Effect.
Okay.
We usually know the topic in advance, 1 week usually in advance, or even more than that. But at times the research just starts few days or even one day before few hours before the episode can be the situation as well. So
yeah.
It's a perpetual problem that we are struggling with, but yeah, it's something that we obviously can improve on. But at the same time, yeah, we always try to improve and try to become better at it. So yeah, it's one of the examples.
Yep, good.
I have one. I think this is common for engineers. I have been procrastinating to get out to obtain the professional engineer.
Okay.
So working as an engineer, I think, I don't know. It's I think it's a battle of why should I take it? Why should I obtain it, right? Because if you want to obtain it, you need to have a logbook for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Yeah.
So
One of the ways, yeah.
one of the ways, right?
Right.
I haven't do it yet.
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
Haven't started,
It's
huh?
like
Okay.
I have this battle of why should I get it, because I don't think my current job need that certification, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Oftentimes it appears in our industry is like it's a trophy, you know, to get that certification. It feels like it sometimes. But yeah, in different job applications, for example, if you don't feel that you will be certifying stuff, or you don't really need that certification, but yeah, that's like a natural progression in our industry, you know, getting the professional engineer certification.
That's one area which I procrastinated in before, and then I managed to overcome that. So right now, I already have engineering in as a chartered chemical engineer, and also a
Mashallah.
professional engineer under BM. So that's one thing I used to procrastinate a lot until there's one point, which I'm going to share later as one of the strategies. There's one point, and I just the turning point, and just alhamdulillah, I got it.
I think it's such a loss, like right. Even though you don't use it, or it's not a requirement for your work, but you studied engineer for 5 years and you're working. It's like it's like a loss, right? You just have to do the logbook, and then
the paperwork,
the
it's
paperwork.
not that difficult to do, right? It's just tedious, perhaps, huh?
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I have some tips on that, inshallah.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Okay, one of the areas that I've been procrastinating a lot, struggling with, is about hifz and muraja'ah, memorization and revision of what we have memorized when it comes to the Quran. So this is an area that I have overcome in some regards, but I'm still struggling with. So, for example, like, so you don't want to memorize because you feel, there are so many which I've already memorized, which I have already forgotten. So you end up like wanting to revise what you've memorized first. And then the more you've memorized, the more difficult it gets. So the more overwhelming it feels, and you don't even start. So that's
it's like you want to muraja'ah, right? But you feel that why don't I memorize a new ayah, new verse, right?
Yeah.
It's like
and then you do one, you're guilty of feeling like you didn't do the other one. So you don't want to feel guilty, so you don't even start. This is how shaitan plays in your head, right?
I have a quote for that.
Oh yeah?
Some of I think it's one of the Salaf said. They say it's Ibn Abbas.
Right.
He said that beware of procrastination, for it is one of the devil's strongest weapon. Or some of the quotes say it is one of the devil's army.
Oh,
subhanallah. It's like,
wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, subhanallah, I think people who really go in the pursuit of trying to memorize Quran, like I think you can relate to this, because especially when you start memorizing a bit longer surah. So let's say you start memorizing, say, like Surah Al-Kahf or Surah Al-Baqarah, right? And then when you want to do muraja'ah for that, once you're at page number 5, you're still like, I still got a long way to go. You know, like it still feels daunting, you know. But the irony is the difficult work of memorizing has already been done. To memorize from zero is more difficult than like revision, right? Because repeating. But for some reason, repeating is the one like you kind of put off, and that's just the struggle I have. Like, do I revise or move? When I move, I don't revise. What's going on? You know, that's how I go through.
Because the revision is as important as memorization, because that's how you retain it. Otherwise, you would lose it, right? So that's why it's something that is also as important as memorization. So the dilemma of which one to go for.
Another area for me that I've overcome last time was to quit music. I used to procrastinate for the longest time. We spoke about this in the episode. Was it Breaking Bad Habits, right?
Yeah.
So I was in denial for the longest time about like the ruling of music in Islam. So I was like, no, I don't want to hear it, you know, like. So I had so much fear going on, like, because I spent like pretty much my life was there. Not even my free time listening to music, like even not free also, I will make time for it, you know. So whether it's playing, listening music, imagining I'm playing, downloading music, reading up music trivia about these bands, you know, like so much. like jamming. Oh man, I spent so much money buying CDs, music equipment. So I'm like, oh, what do I do now? Like if I quit, what's gonna happen now? So no, cannot be. I'm sure there's an opinion somewhere. So that one, yeah, that's something I had to overcome.
Well, that's also in at a different point of the spectrum, is something that you needed to let go that you previously enjoyed. So
Yeah.
it's almost like fighting another from a different perspective, not
Mhm.
looking at it as like to start, for example, a big task is a difficult emotion, but this one is
Yep.
like letting go of something that you love. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. In general, quitting smoking for me, yeah, that was also something I put
Yeah.
off many times.
Yeah.
Smokers have a lot of creative quotes. They'll say stuff like, "Yeah, quitting smoking is not difficult. I've done it 10 times today." Have you heard that kind of thing before? uh, what was another one? My favorite one. Uh, I want to quit smoking. But the thing is, I'm not a quitter. Phew,
They also
okay.
have
All
they
sorts of
also
stuff,
have
right?
in Islam they said the fatwa of quitting smoking is because it's bad for the health, right? So why don't you they asked me, why don't you stop eating sugar, right? It's like,
Oh yeah, I heard that before.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Sugar is bad for health. Okay,
yeah.
why don't you quit that? So
Mm,
yeah, that's
but
also a
I
form of
think
procrastination, actually. Yeah, yeah.
true. But without sugar, right, we will die. But without smoke, it's it's normal.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, a couple of ones are very, very common ones. It's like housework, house chores. Some of house chores we tend to procrastinate a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
doing the dishes,
right. Doing the dishes. Yeah.
Uh,
Folding clothes. Oh man, right?
oh,
Stuff like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
folding
Yeah,
clothes.
yeah. And even like just now, Rizal was saying, like the Baraka effect. For me, especially the episode on healing, end of shame, healing from pornography. Oh man, I put it off
Okay.
so many
Oh,
times. I just, I didn't want to put it out there.
I guess it's one of the most uncomfortable um episodes to deal with
Yes.
from a perspective of researching and talking about it. That's why,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The funny part, even sticking the landing is difficult. Talking about it is difficult, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
even the work is done, but just to release it, I mean, it's not so difficult. You've done 95% of the work already, but still like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm busy doing other stuff. So yeah, subhanAllah. That's yeah, that we go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
So
thing that I always procrastinate on, myself and Faisal, we have this particular uh let's say daily lessons. It's called Halakah Silsilah Ilmiah by Dr. Abdullah Roy. So he releases short clips every day, and we have this daily assessments the day after.
yep.
There's one thing I always procrastinate in listening it.
Ah, that's a good one.
I
Yeah,
always
me too.
always procrastinate to the time before the assessment,
Yeah.
and the assessment the time before the expiry of the assessment, which is like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
The date is due. Just when the brother has given so many reminders, oh okay, I have to do it now. But the
Thanks for
thing is
reminding
that
me.
sometimes
Thanks for reminding me. Same
sometimes we
here.
do miss it, because it's too, sometimes we are caught up in something else, and the last minute comes and we could not address it. So subhanallah,
Yeah.
it's something I
Wow, thanks for reminding me. I am procrastinating that right now as we speak, actually.
yeah, me too.
Oh, subhanallah. Allah musta'an. May Allah help us.
I mean,
Oh,
but
subhanallah.
when we think about it, right, I believe no one is in this room or even I think in this world does not procrastinate, right?
That's right.
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
we love to.
It's
So sorry. It's not we love to procrastinate. We do procrastinate. So I
yeah,
procrastinate.
yeah,
Yeah.
You procrastinate. We
Yeah.
procrastinate. Your
Yeah.
colleague
yeah,
procrastinate. Your
yeah,
bosses, even our bosses procrastinate. Right? I think that even
yeah.
the prime minister procrastinate. But
Mm,
and it seems not procrastinating is abnormal.
Oh.
It's like a normal human condition in the sense that it's part of how humans are, um let's say, designed to, because we work on emotions, right? And
Mhm.
procrastination has a strong link to the root of it is, not wanting to deal with negative emotions, for example. This is the strongest cause of procrastination. So
Yeah.
um this is just human nature, and this is why procrastination. Otherwise, robots do not procrastinate, but we're not robots, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Right.
we
Yeah.
always confuse procrastination with laziness.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think still have that confusion right now.
Mm. Right. We're
Yeah.
skipping a step a bit, but it's okay. Yeah, we started this
Okay.
anyway. So it's good. Yeah. So what causes procrastination? So there's a lot of perception that says that
Mhm.
if you procrastinate, it means that you're lazy. That's what people tend to think, right? Procrastination is
Yeah.
a sign of laziness, but it's not necessarily the case. The truth is there's a lot more layers to that. And
Mm.
because the reality is there are a lot of people who are actually very productive and they achieve a lot of great things, but actually they themselves are also guilty of procrastinating in other things, right?
Yeah.
So this is
Oh,
the nature of
yeah.
human beings. We are very nuanced. We are very unique. We might be
Yeah.
productive at work, but we procrastinate when it comes to religious responsibilities, right?
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
Mm,
some
Yep.
people are
Yep.
like that. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
some people
yeah.
are very consistent when it comes to social media, they're sharing knowledge. But when it comes to family duties, maybe
Work.
towards their parents, maybe their
Uh,
work,
work. Yeah. Yeah.
procrastinator, right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people are really good at domestic house chores, taking care of the house. But when it
Mm,
comes to maybe seeking knowledge or acquiring new skills, and maybe put it off later, because they are more focused at home, for example, right?
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, maybe some are very consistent when it comes to acts of ibadah or even da'wah, but when it comes to serving the family and the household, maybe as parenting, for example, they put it off, right? So
Mm.
yeah, this human beings are very nuanced. So we're all very different. And actually, as Reza said, what causes procrastination? Actually, it's about emotions. Actually, it's about emotional regulation.
Yeah.
So the core of procrastination, it's about avoiding discomfort. That's the core
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. This is the
oh,
core.
means that if we hate the job, we are the how to say the inclination to procrastinate is higher, right?
Yes, correct,
Mm.
correct. The
And
the
it
reason,
doesn't necessarily mean that we hate the job. Sometimes it's also if we feel that the job is too big, right? So where
Mm.
where do we start? That kind of thing, So anything to do perhaps with negative emotions that we don't want to confront it. Yeah.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
Any negative emotions, you're right. So negative emotions is very broad, right? It can be even boredom. Boredom is a negative emotion. That's why we procrastinate, because when we do that task, our brain anticipates that, oh, you're gonna be bored to death, man. So like later lah, I don't want to be bored now. It can be anxiety, right? Maybe that
Yeah.
task
Yeah.
makes you
Mm.
anxious. It
Mm.
can be fear. Maybe doing that makes you fear like the consequences of doing it.
Mm.
It can also be inadequacy, right? Sometimes you don't want to do something. This is very relatable because you feel you're not good enough, you're not smart enough,
Oh,
you're not wise
Mm.
enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not enough.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inadequacy is a very big factor in procrastination.
Mm.
It can be self-doubt, like that we spoke about just now. All these things, right? So these are all negative emotions. So we're like, later lah.
Or seems like that's the problem for me to obtain the professional engineer. Mm.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Very.
Sometimes we
it can fall into one
don't
of those
appreciate that.
categories.
Sometimes we don't appreciate the importance of the task. That's
Mm,
one
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
reason we
that's
Correct.
also a good
procrastinate.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And speaking about your example about your professional certification, that's what happened to me is a feeling of overwhelm. Because to write the
Mm.
report, your first impression is like, wow, so much.
3 years. Ah.
Really? Tomorrow lah. You know? So that's what
Tomorrow
happened.
now
Tomorrow
it's
becomes
7 years. Ah.
tomorrow. Tomorrow
Right.
becomes tomorrow.
99% where the world's motivation and problem solve, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
I
Yeah.
think researchers have this particular term for it. It's called the present bias.
Mm.
When as humans we always tend to be motivated more by what gives us immediate gratification. So instant gratification or reward that we can
Right.
do it right now and we obtain it right now, compared to the long-term rewards such as filing in for that certification. That's why that's what usually this is the biggest challenge for us, is that when we are confronted with that negative emotion to do a certain task, for example,
Yep.
ourselves, like our self-talk, we find ways to like distract ourselves from it by going to things that we seek instant gratification. For example, you when you want to start that report, for example, and then you feel it's such a huge thing, so now you just pop up Facebook and open Facebook and just scroll through it, and then there you go. That's today wasted, right? So this is one of the biggest let's say things that that's the mechanism of procrastination, is to seek immediate gratification while you want to not confront the negative emotion. So this is what researchers call as the present bias. They made quite a few research about this. So it's proven that in human beings, there's a trait or a phenomenon that is apparent in how we deal with things. So yeah.
Yeah, there was a quote that I remember. I'm trying to recall this quote. I hope I remember it correctly. Something like, we overestimate what our future selves can do, and we underestimate what our present selves can do.
Okay.
So we always defer our future selves. Oh, mashallah, my tomorrow is way more productive than me today. Me tomorrow is basically just me today plus one day. You know what I mean? You could have done that now. You know?
Yeah, those are the ones that claim that they deal better under pressure.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
True, yeah. Yeah, so if you want to break down some of the emotional, like, okay, so we spoke about it, it's not necessarily lazy. So we all, as human beings, as you said, as normal human beings, we all feel emotions. There are some very, very slight minority who do not feel any emotions whatsoever. So maybe that's a different topic for a different day, right? But we're talking about the vast majority of us who do feel things, right? So yeah, we tend to, like Riza said, we tend to avoid discomfort. We tend to move towards something that's more comforting, right? So sometimes that escape is what takes us out of it. So what are some of these negative emotions? So I want to quote something like, one of the emotions is inadequacy, right? So for example, so I want to quote something from Rory Vaden. You heard his name, right, Aziz? Very famous, right?
What's the name?
Rory Vaden.
Is he the one who the TED Talk guy?
Yeah. The one who wrote books and about
It's in the mind of a procrastinator. Is it the one?
Oh, that's Team Urban.
Okay.
That's another one. Yeah, okay. That
okay.
one. Yeah. So now I want to quote something from Rory Vaden. He said, "The single biggest reason we procrastinate is that we don't feel like we are good enough, smart enough, capable enough of doing the thing we want to accomplish. So to cope with that reality, we self-sabotage before even starting."
Oh,
Man.
hit the spot there.
Hit the spot. Right. Now let's be honest, right? This is how we felt before we start the Barakah Effect.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. True.
Right? Like, like, who are we? Right? I mean, just a bunch of guys. I mean, we're not Ustad. I mean, come on. Who you think you are, right? Your podcast. Come on, man. Right? All these things, right? Shaitan, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I can relate this when doing tasks in the office, right? When this big task maybe our supervisor gave it. When you want to start it, you start to avoid that task by replying the email that can wait. You start organizing your workstation. You start reading the report that you don't even have to read, actually. Sometimes even reading books. It's like you are doing other productive thing, but you actually are procrastinating.
Yeah.
Not putting it right at the right time, huh?
Yeah. So you might have that very big project that you have to work on, but you're like, but I got so many emails. All right, I better check. I better do these emails first, because then it'll be too many. Then my work will be too much, and I'll be overwhelmed. So I might as well do it now. And you end up just doing emails, and your work doesn't get started at all, right?
We think that it would make us less guilty, right?
Right.
For doing
Because
The
email kind of
productive
feels
task.
worky, right? Because like,
Yeah.
email feels worky. I am doing work, it's not like it's not like
Still
I'm
being
watching
productive,
Instagram,
but
right? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, sometimes like even da'wah, this is one of the biggest reason why people procrastinate from da'wah, because they feel like they are not smart enough, they don't have enough knowledge. They feel like there's a lot of reasons why they talk the self-talk that they have that prevents them from even saying to call people to the path of Allah. Right? Even when it comes to Amar Ma'ruf Nahi Munkar, because we feel this imposter syndrome, like, who am I to talk? Who am I to say this? This is
what
all
would my
from
family
shaitan.
say? What would my friends say? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I have that battle up until now.
Yes.
Until now, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
subhanallah.
At least we need to understand it. We need to acknowledge it. We need to understand it.
Yeah.
Overcoming is one, but don't be in denial. Right? This is the reason why we're putting it off. Yeah. Sometimes another one is disappointment, right? Sometimes the reason why we put a certain task away is because we felt burnt by doing that task before, right? So maybe you do it and then you experience some backlash. Maybe you were ignored, or maybe you do something there was no result, so you felt it was pointless. So subconsciously you kind of like, it's okay lah, I don't want to do it.
Why do it again?
Yeah. Why do it, right? Like we want to protect ourselves from the heartache, right? So looking back, this is actually why I delayed a lot of my writing. So in the past, like when I shared stuff on social media, I used to get a lot of, for example, I have a history of negative backlash. I have people I know and people I don't who comment very nasty stuff. I get attacked by random strangers, sometimes even things which are not really controversial, but people, right? So sometimes people use what I wrote to weaponize it against me. So I get hate comments, sometimes some pretty disturbing ones. So and then sometimes also when you share certain things, it doesn't get much response. You're like, not, we're human beings. It's not right to do this, but that's what we feel, right? Nobody cares. Okay, might as well don't share.
You can't help but feel those emotions. Sometimes it's out of your control, right? So this is
I mean, it's not good. I recognize it, but at the same time, we are human beings, and because of that, might as well don't do it lah. I mean, just save myself from the heartache. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we procrastinate. Another one is overwhelm. So we spoke about this, right? So when we feel a task is too much, too difficult,
yes,
give up. That's what happened to my book project. So my book, I wrote a lot of stuff already. I would say it's like a solid 60% complete. But when I look back, I'm like, oh man, welcome to the jungle, man. It's there's so much
many
stuff.
things that you comes up.
Yeah, it feels so scattered, so overwhelmed. Like reading them again, I was like, disoriented. And reading them, I say, this content is not good enough, not engaging enough. Coming back to the not enough thing, right? Not accurate enough, not this enough, that enough. Do something else lah. Oh, what's this on YouTube? Like so yeah, overwhelm is another one.
I would say perfectionism is another one.
Also, big one. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
that you feel that somehow you can't just come to the point that satisfies you in what you want, for example. So then you go in that cycle, and in the end, you don't even start.
Yes. There's a quote from this author. His name is Michael Hyatt. He wrote a few books. He said, "Perfectionism is the mother of procrastination."
Wow.
Whoa. That's heavy, dark. Right? Okay, I think that we need to explain this a bit more, right? Because people are confused, right? Hey, I thought ihsan is something that our deen teaches us, right? Do things with the best, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right. So what do you mean? Like, so why is this like a bad thing now? So there's a difference between ihsan and perfectionism. And that's what I used to struggle with this actually. I thought like being like, very meticulous, making sure it's like the best and delaying it until the product is the best that it can be. That is ihsan, right? But perfectionism is another extreme. Okay, let me quote something that says, talking about striving for excellence, right? So striving for excellence is basically like the layman definition of ihsan. So I'm going to quote something from a Western author. It says this: striving for excellence feels wonderful because you're trying your very best. Perfectionism feels terrible because your work somehow is never quite good enough.
Okay.
Right? So perfectionism,
fine line.
There's a fine line. Perfectionism, the baseline is fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, fear of disappointing others. So the core of perfectionism is fear, but striving for excellence is like being productive. So there's a difference between
Yeah.
being productive and being unproductive, right? So if it's fear, you're like, I don't want to do anything now because I'm scared. I
Paralyzed.
can't do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I say striving for excellence is making progress and improve if we have mistake?
Yes, that's
But
the one.
perfectionism is you fear to make mistake, which you will, right?
Yes,
And then you don't start
will.
anything.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Oh.
correct. Yeah, mashallah.
Yeah, this thing called OCD, right? I think we heard it before, right? Obsessive
OCD.
compulsive disorder, right?
Yeah.
If you have too much of that in your mind, then you won't do anything. You're like, oh, worried this, worried that, right? So, and that's what happened for me when it comes to writing. So I'll write stuff, and I'm like, this is lousy. You know, what if people say this, or what if people come with a different point of view? And this one, then it's okay lah, keep it to myself lah. And then I'll just stack it up on my hard drive. And then I had like this, and then I became my own worst critic lah. I'll just read my own stuff and I'll think, oh, this is bad, this is horrible. You know, like people have this counter argument. So then I'll just, I don't want to confront this. I'll just chuck it away. And then end up I don't share. And if you don't share, there's no benefit at all, right? So it just remains stuck there. So what we call analysis paralysis, right? You heard of this?
Oh yes,
right? Yeah. So when I thought about it, right, like because I was going through this period for like about a good 3 or 4 years. I wasn't posting stuff at all. I was very like kind of like just in the shadows. So then when I look back, I was, hey, this is not taqwa, this is not ihsan. This is waswas from shaitan. Right? This is shaitan telling you like, oh, you know, they're gonna talk bad about you, they're gonna insult you, you know, they're gonna ignore you, and they're gonna do this. Like your friends are not gonna support you anyway. All this from waswas from shaitan. This is not ihsan, right? So yeah, this is about taking a good honest look about what the results of that perfectionism has done to your life. Not an easy.
I think I have one story about this writer that this writer, I think is I don't want to mention the book. So it's a novel,
right?
So he have a friend. The author have a friend. He write the story, but he delayed to publish it. He was procrastinating to publish, and then this author asked, why don't I get your story, use your story, I put a bit of my twist, and then I publish it. You know, the original author said, okay, you can do it. It's the story is not that perfect or that good enough. But then when he published it, it is bestseller. Until now, they make a movie out of it.
Wow.
SubhanAllah.
Okay.
And then
Wow.
the original writer just like just dissolve like that. Oh, SubhanAllah. You know, that's the danger of the perfectionism, right?
SubhanAllah. Wow. Yeah, also another one is like the more you procrastinate, it's difficult because when you start procrastinating one small thing, sometimes the consequences don't seem so major, right? But the more you do it, the more it starts stacking up. And the more that negative feeling starts piling up, so the more it actually paralyzes you from taking action at all. Right? So simple thing, right? Like doing the dishes, as Aziz and I talk about, right? Maybe you eat, one plate on the sink. No big deal. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it later. You add 1 more dish.
Later,
2-3 hours later. After the 4th or 5th time, oh man, this is heavy, man. I'll do it later.
Start giving the bad order or
right. Yeah, exactly. And you can apply this rule for any sinful behaviors as well. So if you delay making tawbah for something, right? In the beginning, it's actually easier to quit. But if you put it off a bit more, it's going to be a bit more difficult. You put a bit more, it's going to be a bit even more difficult. So this is why for people who haven't prayed for so long, it's difficult to start praying. I see, because of the procrastination. Because missing one prayer is already it's already a misconduct, right? It's already a sin, right?
Yeah.
But missing it twice, 3 times becomes a habit. Yeah. You do this many times, it becomes even more of a habit. The more you do it, you're like, oh, I got so much to replace, man. I can't do this, man.
Now that hadith or athar that Abdul Aziz mentioned before makes sense. The procrastination is the weapon of the shaitan. This is the perfect example of it.
Mm.
Makes
Yeah,
you
subhanallah.
It's the
delay your
strongest weapon
repentance,
of
and then
shaitan. Subhanallah.
strongest weapon, yeah.
Yeah, subhanallah.
And you delay it until basically you feel that it's too much to do it anymore.
Yeah,
Subhanallah.
yeah, subhanallah.
Oh,
Yeah. So maybe if we're okay with the causes now, maybe we go to
Yeah.
the other section.
Mhm.
Actually, we kind of have to backtrack a bit because this was supposed to be the second one, but it's okay, no problem, inshallah. So the next section is like, why is it so important? Why do we need to tackle this subject? What's the importance of tackling this issue about procrastination? So I think we talk about this, but maybe we can flesh it out a bit more.
For myself, it's something that I personally and constantly and continually are having problems or issues with, because yeah, you snap out of it, but somehow you sometimes fall back into that cycle.
Mm.
The the present bias, it's almost easier to go with the things that gives you instant gratification, right? So
Mm.
I find myself struggling with this particular issue of procrastination quite a lot. So this is why it's very important to speak about this topic, I would say.
Mm.
And it creates a lot of unnecessary stress in the end. um, Sometimes it results in something that you couldn't achieve, for example, and you sometimes you compromise on your quality of what you want to produce. You did it too last minute, and therefore you couldn't produce what you should produce. So it has a lot of impacts in that way. Compromising on the quality, or even stress that can lead to illness. Especially also when it is relating to other people, you let other people down. That's also another thing that's not so good as a consequence of procrastination.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Mm.
This procrastination is one of those things where personally, on a personal level, I find myself doing it. It's pretty much there all the time. Even the things I think I may have overcome in the past, but I'm procrastinating something else. So at every phase of my life, there is something. So it's a constant. And as Rizal said, actually, it leads to a lot of missed opportunities. And I think if you really reflect on the Quran and Hadith, right, there's a lot of reminders about how a lot of people, when they meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they'll have a lot of regrets and they will always want to come back to the dunya, right? Farji'na
Yeah.
na'mal salihan inna muqinun. Right? Return us back. Then we will do good deeds. Now we believe. Now we have certainty. Right? That's one of the things here in Surah Sajdah. Right? And then even in Surah Al-Munafiqun, Allah says, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتِ, and spend from what you have before the death comes to you. And then what are you going to say? فَيَقُولَ رَبِّ لَا لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنِي إِلَى أَجَرٍ قَرِيبٍ فَأَصَّدَّقَ وَأَكُنْ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Oh, if only I live
If
longer,
only.
right?
Subhanallah.
I would give sadaqah and then I would do righteous deeds, right? This is the sign of a procrastinator. You've been
Yeah.
procrastinating. Oh, if only I had one more day, I'll just do that, right? So
So,
there are a lot of regrets of a lot of people when they meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they didn't take action. And this is the culmination of that procrastination in this life.
subhanallah. MashaAllah. This is true. Subhanallah.
And on the other hand, there's a lot of push towards being among the people who rush towards good deeds, right? So we have simple ayat like Surah Al-Waqi'ah, was-sabiqun as-sabiqun, right? The people who are first and foremost, they'll be the first and foremost to enter paradise, right? So I always talk about the people who are more proactive, right? There's a hadith, ihris ala ma yanfa'uka. I think that's like our favorite hadith, right? Rush. we quote this hadith like pretty much almost every episode, right? SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
Right? Rush towards that which benefits you. If you find something, just go towards it, right? Just go for it. Right? We even spoke about this in the 40 easy productivity tips. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, that if you find the day of judgment about to happen right in front of your eyes, unraveling right in front of your eyes, and you have a tree seedling that you're about to plant, just plant it. Just plant it anyway. Wow. So there's always this drive to like just keep doing it. Like don't overthink things. There's this a strong drive for us as Muslims to be proactive.
MashaAllah. Well said. hastening to what is good for you.
Yes, hastening towards what's good for you.
Yeah, mashallah.
And this is actually one of the traits that we are told to seek refuge from in Allah. So there's a very famous dua. I think a lot of us are very familiar with it, right? The Prophet ﷺ says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika minal hammi wal hazan. Right?
Oh,
والعجز والكسل
Right, exactly. Wal ajzi wal kasal. Some more?
والبخل والجبن
Yeah, so al jubni wal bukhl. Then there are some narrations, right? Yeah.
وضلاء الدين وغلبة الرجال.
Yes,
Yeah.
وَضَلَعِ الدَّيْنِ وَغَلَبَةِ الرِّجَالِ. So the dua goes, Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from grief and worry, sadness, from ajaz and al-kasal. That's the one,
Yep,
from
yep.
incapacity and laziness. So we speak about this term, al-ajaz and al-kasal. Al-jubn al-bukhl means cowardice and stinginess. Okay, and then the other ones. Okay, so let's speak
Yeah.
about, so this is the one, al-ajaz and al-kasal. This is the one that we're speaking about when it comes to procrastination. So ajaz, in a general sense, it means that you are being unable to perform something. So it's generally because of lack of capability. That means you want to do it, but you're not able to. So it's the opposite of kasal, laziness, which is you are able to, but you don't want to. Right, you see?
Yeah, subhanallah.
So that's the
Exactly.
basic definition. So
MashaAllah.
taswif is the Arabic word for procrastination. So taswif comes from saufa, saufa, right? Like saufa means going to, right? Or it's the, what do you call it? The future prefix, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So
It's like
Then you are, correct.
yeah, so taswif literally means like to delay, to make it in the future. So something like that,
Yep.
So people say that if you read up the definition of like the explanation of taswif is a form of ajaz because you delay the task to the point you don't actually do them. So that's like incapacity lah. That means you're not doing it lah.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah. So interestingly, laziness is also a form of ajaz as well, because when you're lazy, you end up not doing it. So also end up being incapable as well. Yeah. So this is kind of where it comes in. So actually, we make dua for to ask Allah to protect us from this. And coming back to our favorite hadith, right? Ihris ala ma yanfa'uka. What's the continuation of the hadith?
Wasta'in billah.
Wasta'in billah. Ask the help from Allah.
Wala ta'jaz.
That's the one. Wala ta'jiz, right? Don't be weak or don't be incapacitated. So actually, the Prophet told us not to do that. Right? Don't be like that.
MashaAllah.
That's very interesting. When you read the book, the productive Muslim, he explained that there are three causes of procrastination. Number one is we had the job, we don't want to do it. That's why we procrastinate.
Oh, we hate the job. Okay.
The second one is
right.
You do not understand the task. You have no idea to organize. That's the dua we ask from Allah, right? The incapability. SubhanAllah. We have dua already for that one.
Right.
And the last one he explained that the cause of procrastination is we have more interesting thing to do. So plus the given task doesn't excite us. So we procrastinate. That's the three main reason from this book. SubhanAllah.
Okay. So the excite part is where the emotion comes in, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we turn to distractions, because that excites us more compared to that mundane thing that we're doing. Hence procrastinate.
Yeah. Inshallah.
So at the end of the day, like the ability to not feel incapacitated is actually, if you look back to this hadith, this favorite hadith of ours, it starts about the Prophet ﷺ talking about al-mu'minul qawi. This is actually the characteristics of a strong believer. So actually, this is actually, if you want to be the strong believer, which is more beloved to Allah, then you have to find a way to overcome this procrastination.
Yeah.
That's
even the advice from Rasulullah, ihris, is hasten. MashaAllah. This is like basically the recipe. Hasten toward what's good for you. Ask for help from Allah, because you cannot do anything without the help of Allah. And don't feel incapacitated. So this is the three main core recipe of a productive Muslim that we can always remind ourselves to try and overcome the procrastination habit.
Yeah, true. MashaAllah. All right, so let's get into the last part, which is the strategies now, the how part, right? So how can we overcome procrastination? How can we, now we know, we acknowledge we have this issue already, maybe different extent, right? Different context, different categories for different people. Everybody's unique. Allah created it is different. So what are some strategies that we can overcome this procrastination?
Yeah, perhaps firstly, if, for example, if you have a big task to do, perhaps you can break the task into small pieces and assign some milestones to it, so that when you begin to approach the task, for example, you don't feel like it's a huge mountain to climb. You start with the easier things in that particular task, and as you go along, inshallah, you will build the momentum. And the momentum here is one of the key things behind successfully completing a task, and beating procrastination. Basically, when you have built some momentum, it's almost like we always point to the example of the flywheel, right? It's difficult to turn at first. It's much more difficult to get it started, but once you have put it in motion, it becomes like a natural thing to do. So perhaps one of the strategies I always try to as well, that if you are starting to begin a task, break it up into small pieces and assign milestones, and make sure you try and stick to those milestones, and basically start with the easy ones. As you build momentum, you will inshallah you feel that the task becomes easier, and you are already in it. You're in the momentum of doing the task. So this is one of the things that I perhaps try to implement when I want to approach a big task.
MashaAllah. I'm surprised. The first time we used a good to great reference was from Reza and not from me this time. Huh? So, MashaAllah.
Flywheel,
Yeah, the flywheel.
Caught on to it.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
But yeah, that's brilliant. I have that too here. It's about, okay, so the idea is, if you need to gather momentum somehow, right? And I just want to, I like this quote. I think it's a Chinese proverb. It says, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." That's all you have to do.
You
Take
hear
one
it all the
step.
time. Yep.
Yeah.
One step.
So how do you take that one step? You have to somehow craft it in a way that becomes accessible and easy. So the hadith related to this is yassiru wala tu'assiru. Make it easy, right? So for example, in Atomic Habits, we spoke about this as well, right? So whatever deeds that you have, compress it into a 2-minute deed. Something like that. So something like make it so easy that your brain tells you that, come on, you don't want to do this so easy thing. It's so easy, man. So the idea is to hack your brain in that way. And yeah, this is how I started some habits actually. So like, for example, washing the dishes. My wife used to do it. So I told my wife like this, okay, I'm going to start washing the dishes. But I tell you what, I'm only going to do it for 1 minute.
Oh.
So she's like, what? Might as well don't do it, right? You said,
Might as well don't do it.
so I'm like, no, trust me. It's okay. Let me just 1 minute, Let me try. Please. Okay. Okay. So I do 1 minute. And then after a while, it goes up to 2 minutes, right? What's 2 minutes gonna do, right? So still not much, but after a while, that momentum starts to build. Like, then yeah, you can do the dishes now. Alhamdulillah. Like it becomes a very easy habit now. But it all starts from that 1 minute, right? Without that flywheel effect, right? The one that Ariza said, right? Without that 1 minute, I can't achieve that 10 minutes later on, right? It starts with that 1 minute first. So even simple things, right? Like when I want to start exercise, same thing. I used to be intimidated by the idea of going to the gym. I used to be obese. I used to be overweight. So the thought about working out is like, oh, not me, bro. That kind of thing. So how did I do it? I found this workout. It's a 7-minute workout. Have you heard that before? Like 7-minute workout?
Oh.
Simple. It's just bodyweight exercises like push-ups, jumping jacks, that kind of thing. So very, very doable. You don't need any equipment. So I'm like, 7 minutes. Come on, bro. You can't 7 minutes, right? Like, duh. So
You can eat for 1 hour, right?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. How much time you spend on social media, for example, right? Come on. 7
Come
minutes.
on,
Yeah, can lah. So that's how. Yeah, 3 hours, right? Yeah, so that's how I used to procrastinate. For example, salat, the salat rawatib, like the
Mhm.
uh, four
Mm.
before Dhuhr, two after Dhuhr, right? Two after Maghrib, two after Isha. So this is how, like, just do two quick ones, very fast ones. You don't have to recite very long, just very basic. Even recite one times instead of three times. At least you got it done.
Mm.
Start make it easy. Then you realize, it's doable. And as Reza
Yeah.
said, right, the
Mm.
momentum actually inspires you
Yeah.
now. Like, yeah, I can do it, lah. Right?
True,
Yeah.
true, true.
Suddenly, if you
Yeah.
don't do it, it feels like something is missing, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like this quote.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
overcome procrastination, we really need to understand the power of momentum, right? Oh.
Right.
Mm.
That's the one. Yeah. The power of momentum. I like this quote. I want to say, taking
Mhm.
little actions gives us the confidence to take bigger ones.
Oh, true. I
Ah.
really can relate to that because I have a problem. Yeah, in work, I have a problem to write this paper for proposal paper.
Ah.
So
Mm.
I always procrastinate. I, like until the time we want to submit the paper. When I start the momentum, I procrastinate for 2 3 days. But when I start it, I use the 2 minutes rule. I just okay. I will start by just doing it 2 minutes. I write the title, write some of the
Ah.
some
Okay.
summary, and
Okay.
then it's 3 hours. I already complete the job. I was like, why I didn't
Ah.
start it earlier? Subhanallah.
Masya Allah. Masya Allah.
Aduh.
I think the
Mashallah.
foundation of, I think Aziz talked about the Pomodoro technique, right? I think that's what it is. It's
Yes,
they break it down into, I think, like, is it 20 minutes?
25 minutes, and
Yeah.
Mm.
you
Break
have a
for,
break for 5 minutes,
yeah.
and you do it for if you have 4 rounds, you haven't done the task, you have a more 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 rest for 50 minutes for to eat or to drink, and then you
Yeah.
keep
Oh
repeating it,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
and
It's
then
interesting.
It's
Yeah.
a
mm,
brain hack actually, because 25 minutes is
mm,
not that long, right? I mean, if you tell
Mm.
yourself I'm gonna do a paper for 2 hours, you're like, oh man, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
yeah,
sounds very
yeah.
daunting, right? But like
Mhm.
25 minutes, it's okay lah. After 25 minutes, then do something else. Okay, I can do
Mm.
25 minutes, right? It's
But
not.
Yeah.
the one of the you need to control yourself just to do one task at a time. If you multitask,
Oh,
your
okay, 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 okay.
momentum will go here and there.
Okay, okay.
So
Okay.
seriously, you will
Perhaps
feel overwhelmed.
that's a good technique to use to overcome procrastination then, right? So
Mhm.
it's almost like,
Yep.
how do you overcome procrastination is actually about overcoming those negative feelings and just start to do it, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of the
Mhm.
classic advice of how to overcome procrastination is to just do it. So this is a
True.
technique that automatically gets you to do something without even really thinking about so much things behind the scene, that you just do it and then suddenly you find that you are in it, and it becomes easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, mashallah.
About this just do it thing, right? I just heard about this, but I haven't really read much into it. It's called the 5 second rule. Have you heard of it?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
No, not necessarily. What's it
Yeah,
about? Yeah.
I have to read it up, but what people say is basically like this. If you want to just do it, you just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it. And
Oh,
for some
okay.
reason, you're more like, yeah, let's go.
Okay,
I
okay.
I just thought, like, the person who told about this, you're like, it sounds so simple, but for some reason your brain like, yeah, let's go. Like, Allah Alam.
It doesn't give you the time to overthink, let's say,
I think so.
perhaps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I need to read this
Yeah.
up. But yeah, because when you said, like, just do it, like that, this triggered me. So I gotta read it up a bit more, inshallah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, talking about that, but about momentum, right? Because a lot of people think that you take action only if you have motivation. But what we are talking about right now is the action itself generates motivation. Is that
Mm,
it?
mm,
It's like hidayah,
Mm.
cause and effect of hidayah. People
mm,
sometimes they say that they will only take action after hidayah. But the truth is, when you
mm.
take action, then you get more guidance. And you see this law in the
Yeah,
Quran many
subhanallah.
times, right? So many times
Yep,
actually,
yep, yep.
when you do it first, then Allah adds the hidayah. So it's completely opposite to what a lot of people say today. Like, I'm waiting for motivation. I don't have motivation to exercise. That's not how it works. When you exercise, then you have the motivation to do some more. You're like, hey, yeah, you know what? I can do it. It's not that bad, right? So
Yeah.
that's the idea behind it. And that's the ruling behind the Quran as well. So, for example, there's an ayah in Surah Muhammad where Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَاهُمْ تَقْوَاهُمْ. So the meaning of it is, for those who accept guidance, so meaning they do it first, right? They act upon the guidance, then Allah increases their guidance and then increases them in taqwa. So you need to take that step first. So it's not about like you just waiting, Ya Allah, give me hidayah, Ya Allah. That's not how it works. Then you start taking action. You do it first and then Allah adds it. So it's kind of the same thing. So you have to, when you take the first step, then you realize, oh, it's not so bad after all. So I can relate. For example, we talk about the episode of the pornography episode, right, that we released recently in our TBE, in our podcast, right? So I had so much fear releasing that episode, but after that, a lot of people started sharing, and then like Sheikh Wa'il started sharing, Miss Nina started sharing. Like, oh,
I can
wow.
confirm that.
What was that?
You were like, oh, we want to release this episode. So then is this thumbnail okay? It's like trying to delay.
Yeah, man, subhanallah. But after it's released, like, it wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, people are actually realizing it's a problem now. So then you realize that once you cross that barrier, oh, mashallah.
It's not so bad, huh?
It's not so bad at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, mashallah.
Mashallah.
So another one, as Aziz highlighted, right, is to get organized.
All right.
Yeah, rearrange your tasks, right? Place them down, break them down to digestible chunks. I like to use a checklist. For some reason, working on a checklist just works wonders for me. So like for example, Aziz said, right, that one memo task, right, that one presentation that's just causing so much headache. I break it down even further. So task number one is like objective page. That is one task. And then
so when do you write your checklist? The night before, in the morning?
Normally the morning. Normally the morning. Yeah. So that's what happens. What that does is, when you start getting really specific, when you check a simple thing box off, the more boxes you check, you're like, I checked off a pretty good number of boxes today. I'm pretty productive, man. Isn't it
okay?
Like a self-affirmation kind of thing. That's how it works for me.
Mashallah.
Yeah, like for example, a muraja'ah, right? When it comes to, for me, like to memorize, to revise my memorization of Quran, I have like sort of a journal, like a simple note-taking app. I just keep track of what I've revised for today. So, for example, on this date, say so and so date, I revised page number so and so. That's it. Just a simple one. And then next time I revise, so I put another one. So when I look back, I realize, hey, you know what? I made some progress. It's not great. It's not the fastest progress in the world, but it's progress. If I didn't write down at all, I'm like, it feels so daunting. What have I done in the past? I got so much to do. Where do I start? So that helps for me. Yeah. A simple one also, just to avoid procrastination, is to seek knowledge, to equip yourself with the knowledge, with the better tools to handle what you're procrastinating. So
true.
Yeah. Right? It worked for you?
Yeah, it works for me because I never know about procrastination. Like just like we said, we don't have the word for in Malay, right? Specific word.
Right.
To say menangguh or okay, menangguh is not, it's like not a strong word to say that it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So when I read, I first know about procrastination is when I read this book, the Productive Muslim.
Right.
Yeah, 16 relationships. I think it's one of the important. You have to know the tips and tricks and how to overcome the procrastination.
Yeah. So once you learn a little bit about it, it gives you a bit more confidence, right? So for example, one thing for me personally is like parenting. In the beginning, when our first child, I kind of didn't really learn much about it. So because of that, I kind of feared doing certain things. How do I do this? That's not my thing. Like How do I confront a baby like shouting in your face? I like that kind of thing scares me. Like, I can't do that. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I have the patience to handle that. But once I start reading my first parenting book, I still remember, I think it was the Montessori toddler. Like once they start equipping you with the tools and what to expect, and like what's the worst that could happen, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I can try this, And then
Yeah.
I tried one thing. So I remember the most important tip from that book was handling tantrums. So I just tried that one thing, just handling tantrums. Because to me, as a new parent, I like handling tantrums. Oh my god, I can't do that, man. I think I'll tantrum first before. I think I'll collapse before that guy. But then when I read the book, I'm like, hey, oh, that's okay. I give it a shot. And then when I do it, like, hey, wow, it works. Huh.
Right.
Right. Like I can try one more thing, I guess. It's
Yeah.
if that I can do that, I guess I can try one more thing. So then I start to realize more empowerment starts to take place. And I'm like, oh, I guess, like you becoming a good father takes one step at a time. So I took that one step, then mashallah, do another step. So knowledge helps a lot actually.
Because knowledge gives you confidence, right? As we mentioned previously, with the cause of procrastination, one of it is basically not knowing what to do or
Yes.
feeling inadequate to do a task, for example. So
Yes.
empowering yourselves with knowledge gives you that confidence to power on with that task and essentially beat procrastination.
Yeah, and one simple tips, if you don't understand, you can ask you can ask anyone who have done that job. Sometimes we are, I think, embarrassed or shy to ask because it
Yes.
feels like, hey, this one you cannot do, how come you work here? Me, I
Yeah.
think that's my weakness. I'm afraid to ask, but when you ask, it doesn't matter if your supervisor or your boss say, yeah, this one you don't know, but if you ask, just give them the chance to talk whatever they want, but see the bright thing that you can finish the job if they give some of information that makes you understand to do the task. Yep.
Yeah, true. So even
Yeah,
for example,
knowledge.
like what you said just now, like professional certifications, right?
Mhm.
Like for
Oh.
me, why it was so difficult for me? Because why I procrastinated so much in the beginning? Because I kept getting conflicting information. And then the website is like telling you to do this, but doesn't tell you the complete details. So you're like, every time you do it, you're like, you reach a dead end. So do it tomorrow. Like that makes you procrastinate.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you go through that?
feeling the same way. Yeah, because
Ah,
sometimes you just go to, okay, if I think Malaysian can relate to this. Sometimes you guys just go to BM,
right.
but you can do it in IM also. Okay, so which
Yeah.
one?
What to do?
Mm.
Correct. So that's what
Yeah.
I went. Like I went. You're right. BM or IM, but you go this. Okay, you need to take this course. Or how do I find out about this course? Go to this website. Website, no course. Huh? Oh, okay. How do I do this? I need to find a supervisor who has the same discipline of engineering. Oh, where do I
Same.
find? I need to ask around. Huh? You know. So because of that, like you just keep on delay. Oh, like, that's what made procrastinate. So okay, what broke the cycle for me was I finally found one professional chemical engineer who gave me the tips. Say, hey, bro, don't take the normal route. Just take the international certification route. Oh, really?
IM? You mean
No,
through IM?
this one was ICAME. It was through
Okay.
UK
Okay.
certification overseas. So I was like, huh,
Oh.
really? I thought that's more difficult. No, that's easier. Easier, huh?
Okay.
Really? Tell me more.
Mm,
Then that starts to make you a bit more like, oh, okay, like
uh,
you're more interested, right?
Yeah.
Then he took me through the steps and like then okay, I can do this. Then he opened the report. Okay, there was a lot to do, but like just knowing what it is now, like so all I have to do is just fill in this report, submit. Oh, I can do it, right? Then took one step. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah.
okay, Reza.
Right.
See you
Find the
in
guy. Find the
soon.
guy.
Right.
Also,
Yeah.
I guess on a separate note, just an intermission here. It underlines in the importance of sharing what you know with others, because others might be
Oh yeah,
struggling in
yeah.
what they find, but
Yeah.
you can be that person who helps others, and therefore, yeah. But this is just a separate note for other than procrastination, but interesting point. Inshallah.
That's very true, actually, because a lot of the things that helped me overcome certain procrastination habits were listening from experiences of other people. So, for example, like when it comes to writing, because writing is a big deal for me, even at the Barakah Effect, because researching for an episode requires a lot of reading and writing.
True.
So every episode I have like this repository of notes, and it requires a lot of writing, right?
Yeah.
So when I hear like how authors share their experiences and their struggles in writing, so number one, it makes me feel like, oh, so I'm not the only one
I'm not
struggling.
alone.
Right? They are also struggling. And so
Yeah.
when they share like how they overcome their struggles, like I can relate to that. So for example, one tip that really broke the mold for me was this. I think it was Tim Ferriss. You know Tim Ferriss, the very famous podcaster. His books are
Yeah.
very thick. Huh? I think Tribe of Mentors, one of his books, like 800 pages. Allah Mustaan. So anyway, he said
More
that
than
I think it's
more
more
than
than
the
that.
Quran.
Yeah, more than the Quran, subhanallah. So he said, like, when it comes to writing, make it a habit. 2 pages of crap is better than 0 pages of unpublished perfection.
Mm.
2 pages of crap is better than 0 pages of unpublished imperfection. To some to that effect. When I heard that, wow, yeah. So just right,
Mm.
right, just right. And then if you share, I mean, worst case, it's not so great, but you've done your sharing. Oh,
Yep.
So I think we have a tip number 3. Surround yourself with like-minded people, right? You have
that's the
support.
one. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
Just like the Barakah Effect podcast. I think if we do it, for example, if we want to do it for for ourselves, I think we would not do it at all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, as human beings, I think we kind of need this accountability of these like-minded peers to get the best of ourselves,
Mm.
right? We need to surround ourselves with people who hold us accountable. So I think the way you can do this is like, yeah, like what Aziz said, get a group to do this together. But for anyone else out there, it can be anything. You can invest in coaches, in mentors, right? Enrolling yourself for a program. That will help you get into the momentum. Because you see, if you do it by yourself, there's no sense of urgency, right? Professional
Yeah.
engineering certification. If I don't do it, it's okay. My life doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't get any worse, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
True.
Right?
No one knows, right? What you have. So
Yeah. Even
yeah.
like Quran, for example, right? If you don't memorize or you don't muraja, nobody else is gonna be impacted by that, right? It's just between you and Allah. So because of that, the sense of urgency doesn't seem so strong. You need a really strong taqwa
Yeah.
to do that. Some people can do that, mashallah, but a lot of people, it's a struggle, right? So having accountability partners can compensate for that.
Yep.
And besides, right, doing things with a friend is always more fun, right?
True.
Yeah.
That's why workout buddies are always more effective. Getting a coach is useful, not necessarily because of the techniques that they teach you, but just because you have somebody to, tell you, have this timing. And when you have somebody to do it with, you don't want to let people down, right?
Yeah.
So like we do it the TVE, right? You don't want to let Aziz down. I don't want to let Reza down.
True.
You gotta show up, right?
Yeah.
So so you have that sort of pull now, right?
Yeah.
People ever if you have a friend with you or someone with you, I think they help us to stop making this excuse you allow yourself, right? You always
Correct.
have excuse if you are alone.
By yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I'm doing at the workplace right now for the professional certification part, for at least for chemical engineers. I'm helping my colleagues to get the chartered chemical engineer to get the professional engineer certification. So what I'm doing is, what I did before, I used to like share to like a group, okay, step by step what to do. But I realized that from that sharing, only a few people were interested. So my guess is when they went back to the website, look at the steps, they're like, oh, subhanallah, this is, I'll do it tomorrow, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep this sharing very short. I'm going to say, I'm going to help you guys, but I don't want to tell you how to do it, because if I tell you how to do it, it's just going to go one ear and go out the next ear. I tell you what, whoever wants to join me, join this focus group. We're going to hold each other accountable. We're going to set deadlines. We're going to track each other's progress. You're going to know how much this other guy did.
Okay.
Right? Everybody go into this focus group, set deadline, and let's go. So then it puts a certain that's what I'm trying to do right now. It puts a certain a momentum for people to work towards, instead of an unspecified deadline.
Yeah, there's a difference between knowing the information and not doing anything about it, and knowing the information and following through together, right? So,
Yeah, that's right. So
Inshallah.
I think a big one, actually, just to come back to the basics now, is if you want to stop procrastination, you got to create a sense of urgency. So a sense of urgency on a person. So just now we talk about accountability partners, right? But on a personal level, it's about, especially when it comes to, for example, as Muslims, here's a tough one, right? If you're going to hear this, right? Remind yourself about death. If you're going to
Mm.
die tomorrow, what's the
Yeah.
consequence of you procrastinating this deed or procrastinating this thing that you're supposed to repent from?
Yeah, this is powerful tool to use.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
That's why the Prophet ﷺ says, like, always frequently remember the destroyer of pleasures. It's not because you want to feel to be morbid or feel always, down and moping and grieving. That's not the idea. But the idea is to always make you on your toes, to make you realize the consequences of delaying certain things, the delaying the tawbah. What if I'm going to meet Allah with these sins, right? Or delaying the deeds that you're supposed to do but you're not doing. What if I'm going to meet Allah and says, "Ya Allah, I was planning to do it tomorrow, but the angel of death came today." Allah musta'an. That's a sense of regret that you can never turn back to now, right?
Yeah,
So
mashallah.
yeah, that's a sense of urgency that we can create as Muslims. It's already built into our deen.
Mashallah. And how we can practically do this is actually, perhaps one thing we can do is we set aside some time in a day to reflect on the Quran, because the Quran is always essentially a reminder of what is to come, what we should do for the moment that you meet Allah. So this is a continual reminder for us. And if we do it every day, you're always reminded of that. You're always reminded of your sense of why you should urgently hasten to the good deeds that will, and to avoid procrastination from doing it. So here's a practical way to establish a continual reminder for this. Yeah.
Also, to balance this out, right? I mean, this is the other side of it, right? Overcoming procrastination, you got to stop feeling bad about yourself. A lot of people, they already feel, I should be doing this, but I'm not. And then what happens? You the dialogue in your head, so useless, like we beat ourselves up, right? But the more you beat yourself up, the more you're not going to do it. So there's a quote from this book I read called Tiny Habits. People don't change when they feel bad about themselves. They change when they feel good about themselves. So find a way to feel excited, to feel inspired, to feel motivated. So we spoke just now, for example, about just taking action itself, right? So for me, that journaling aspect about taking action like motivates myself. Oh yeah, like mashallah, I'm kind of capable in certain things, like, and having accountability partners helps as well, because friends, you're like, yeah, well done, you the man, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sense of
mashallah.
achievement is very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
think
need to forgive yourself, right? You need to forgive yourself for procrastinating
Yes.
first.
I think
Yeah.
the term that people use a lot is self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Oh,
Yeah. But of
Yeah.
course, I mean, it needs to be balanced out. But the idea about self-compassion is like, how do you speak to your best friend? Like, do you talk to your best friend and it's like, oh, you useless fellow, you should be doing this? You don't talk like that, right? You encourage them, right? You want them to progress. You don't hit them on the ground for things that they're not doing. Kind of reverse that for yourself. So that's the concept of self-compassion that we can practice lah.
Inshallah. And perhaps something that we can try to do in that sense, also what I also try to implement is that, procrastination is about overcoming negative feelings or negative emotions, right?
Yep.
So how do you do that without, let's say, really, what's the easy way to do to overcome these things? What I try to do is, whenever, for example, you during the start of the day, you keep to an exercise routine. So you capitalize on that feeling after the workout. After the workout, you usually feel sense of, you feel good, you feel positive that you can do a lot of things, you can accomplish a lot of things, right? So capitalize the feelings after a workout to do something that you have been procrastinating about, because usually, more often than not, after a workout, you feel like your ideas are flooding in, and you feel so energetic to do something that it's easier to do something rather than not do anything. So one of the hacks that I try to do for myself is that to capitalize that good feeling after a workout on something that I've been procrastinating on, to just start that thing and to build that momentum. So I find that some very useful for myself to keep an exercise routine, which is good for your health anyways. But what you can do further than that is to capitalize that workout as a bright start to your day and to overcome the negative emotions of procrastination. Yeah.
Very good, mashallah. I guess another one as well to add this, right, is the aspect of mujahadah, striving, right? The discipline aspect. You know, I hate to say this, but no matter how much effort you put in to make it easy, there's still no running away from, you need to do some push, you know? You need to step out of that comfort zone. You need to step out of that convenience zone. That's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
So that's why even like motivational speakers today, right, self-help, they'll talk about this thing called discipline, doing the right thing, even if it's not convenient, not easy, right? It is the right thing. So sometimes you just need that willpower to push yourself out of that comfort zone. Now, a lot of motivational books, self-help books today, they tend to say that willpower is not sustainable, right? But at the same time in Islam, we know there's this concept called Mujahadah, right? So if you read the book of Riyadhus Salihin by Imam An-Nawawi, there's a subchapter specifically on Mujahadah. So the dalil for this is from Surah Al-Ankabut. Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who strive in our cause, we will open up the doors of guidance to our paths. Right? You need to do that striving. Then Allah opens it and makes it easy for you. Now, of course, they say it's not sustainable. In a way, yeah, as human beings, if you do it and then, you know, you need to find a way to make it sustainable. But there's always going to be that initial, like, you have to like fight it for a while. That's just how it is.
Nothing good comes easy, right? As the saying
Right.
goes.
Yeah, correct. But there are ways to make it easier. But yeah, there is going to be an element of stepping out of your element for a while.
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay, mashallah. Anything else? Maybe
What about
tomorrow.
manage your energy?
Oh, manage your energy. Yeah. Okay, tell us more.
Think we should, for example, manage your energy to try to eliminate maybe low value tasks. Sometimes we procrastinate because we think that we have too much tasks that have low value. We put it in our checklist. Also, we don't prioritize. So we are overwhelmed with work. So when we are overwhelmed, we start to
Okay.
lost interest.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because your energy is a very limited resource, right? So it's not unlimited. So you've got to manage it well and manage it right. So yeah, mashallah.
Okay, I have this I think dilemma. We say that we want to we try to ease the task first. Should we do the most difficult task first in the morning or the easiest task? Because if we do the easiest task first, I think it will suck our energy. Then when we want to do the difficult one, we have we don't have enough energy to do it.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's case to case, but I would say do the difficult one, but in an easier way, like you said just now.
Break it into
Yeah, just having progress on difficult tasks generally is motivation. Is motivating. It helps move the mental energy forward.
And don't forget to take breaks, take a rest.
Yeah.
Especially before or after lunch. So that's when we start to feel sleepy.
Yeah. I think there's a sub point on that, on accountability partners. What I tend to do sometimes, just to get me back in the momentum, I will share my half baked results with a colleague. So like, hey, I got this result. What do you think? And then they start they talk about, hey, why are not supposed to be? And then they're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. So that motivates you, like, oh, okay, yeah, I can try this. I can add this. Or it's something like maybe like as you say, the pack, right? So, oh yeah, I put this in the pack. What do you think? Do you think that kind of thing is controversial? Hey, no, they need to hear this. Oh, all right, yeah, so yeah, that helps to give that boost. So yeah, that's the sub point.
Okay, good tips.
Inshallah.
Yeah, very good, mashallah. So that's it, mashallah. So alhamdulillah. I think there's so much more, but hopefully this has been, at least to some extent, useful, practical, inshallah. We'd love to hear from the rest if anybody else has any more interesting tips and strategies and ideas. But alhamdulillah, may Allah Azza wa Jal bless what we have shared for today's conversation. And may Allah Azza wa Jal make us amongst those who are productive in our amal salih, and amongst those who fight the waswas of shaitan that prevents us from taking action, which is procrastination. And of course, if you finally know the word in Malay, please get it back to us. MashaAllah.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah, we'll end here, inshallah. Okay, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.